how would you personally define success in being a student athlete, and has that definition evolved over time?
It's definitely evolved since when I first started. I think if you think of success, you think about the absolute role model, great student, great player, captain of the team, all the accolades. Success as a student athlete, to me, is really making it all 4 years. It's being able to endure that those obstacles and not fall under pressure and sticking with it. Even when you think that you don't see a way out or that you may not think it's for you. We always used to say at Springfield, make it to the shoe. And I can't, and it's when you make it to that end part, when you're a senior and you make it, there's no other better feeling because you're just surrounded by people that love you and care about you and that were there 100% away. And I think true success honestly is like I really I'm a big fan of the Friday Night Light speech where Billy Bob Thornton says, I think being perfect and being a successful individual as a whole, not just a student athlete, is being able to look at the people you care about the most. More importantly, looking at the person in the mirror and said, I did everything I could, and there was not one other thing I could do that was in my control. And know that I did everything. And for that, you never let anyone down. There's no stones unturned. There's no what ifs. Be sad it's over, but be happy that you went through it.
One of the biggest things, especially for myself when I was in school, being a student athlete, it was handling pressure and how I was able to, maintain a lot of those high pressure situations, whether it was between athletics, academics, kind of balancing both, you name it. But for you, what were those high pressure situations like? And what were some of the either coping strategies that you used or, different little workarounds that you tried to instill in yourself to really minimize that?
Definitely kind of goes back to, the pressure that you put on yourself. I put a lot of pressure on myself to, be starting to do all this. That was always my definition of success until there was nothing there. And then I had to come to terms that everything that was in my control, I did. And that made me successful. And, through that, I always had pressure of feeling like I'm letting people down. I'm letting my friends back home down. I'm letting my, you know, I'm letting everything that any negative source that said like I couldn't do it said that, that's one less way of me proving them wrong. And I was my biggest critic. And I actually had this counselor who played offensive line at Ole Miss, like back when Ole Miss was Ole Miss, like Bo Wallace, like and the biggest thing with him is like, dude, you're your biggest critic. You gotta learn to let go. Like you gotta learn to realize. And the biggest thing I learned through Springfield is being where your feet are. And I think for me is that I always had to take a step back and look right at in front of me and be like, this is where I am right now. This is what's in my control. We could always say what if, what if, what if, and think about all these irrational things and stuff that's out of our control. And that's what all drives us insane. That's what generates anxiety. That's what generates depression. That's what generates stress, generates all of it because we're so afraid of the unknown, afraid of everything that's out of our control. But the moment you start focusing on what's in your control is the moment you start hammering away at that pressure and you start to become more at peace within yourself.
I know you spoke in the past that you went down and scheduled with your counselor, and you just spoke about how you had to figure out like being where your feet are and taking a step back. Is there any like specific resources that you found like beneficial to figure out how to get this viewpoint and this perspective?
I'm such a huge believer in positive imagery and self-visualization and like within meditation almost like I would always plug in my earbuds. I close my eyes for a minute and I would just think about the good that I have right now. I think about everything that I ever want, right? Think about where I am right now and the small things that are really positive in my life. And the moment you start to kind of really visually see yourself in those moments is when your body everything takes care of the rest. I'm a huge believer that everything happens for a reason and that if you guys aren't familiar, if you know what The Secret is, like have you ever seen the documentary or read the book? and it's about the power of attraction. I think if you really visualize yourself within that moment, that is when you become internally at peace. And I think the biggest thing for me, as especially as a student athlete and even beyond being a student athlete now, is positive visualization and seeing myself in the moment. Literally writing down the positives that are in my life right now. I think one of the biggest things to always keep me in the present and realize who I am is, as a football team, we had to write I am statements. And basically it would say like I am son of blah blah blah. I am this. It's whatever meant the most to you. And we got up and read them. And I even use this as a technique now as a mental health clinician with most of my clients. And I'm still the practitioner who has the I am statement taped next to his bed, looks at it every morning. And sometimes, I need to practice more what I preach. And that's one thing I really gathered coming back as I go through the obstacles of grad school is I reinforce who I am and what my mission is. Once you find what your why is and you develop that and you really write it down, visually seeing it is going to strike some motivation in you.
That's one of the things that I was always taught to, right? Visualize your at bat, visualize yourself in those high pressure moments, the bases loaded, 2 outs, bottom of the ninth inning. What are you going to do, right? So that you can already envision yourself there. You can envision yourself in that moment. And when that moment does come, you're more prepared for that. So I think you nailed that. Sometimes transitioning out of sports can be quite a difficult challenge and aspect for a lot of people. Number one, for a lot of these athletes, it's been their identity for their whole entire lives. It's all they've known, right? Whether it's football, basketball, baseball, soccer, all they've known is that sport, competing, being with those brothers, things like that. And so for yourself, transitioning out of sports, kind of being away from the football environment, being in that team environment. I mean, what are some of the things that you've noticed the changes in? How would you recommend other student athletes kind of navigate that change out of sports? And, ultimately, what would you recommend that they should do to kind of put themselves in a better position for when that time does come?
That's the $1 million question, though, right there, is because, for me, I had to transition out early. And at some point in any athlete's life, you're going to be told that you can't play this game anymore. You don't know when, you don't know how, but at some point, we're going to be told that it's time, it's done. The whistle's blown, the gas is empty, your time has come. And I think that is one of the hardest transitions. And it's still something that, even though I transition early, it's still difficult for me to transition out of. Even myself as a coach, like going in, I used to watch. I would be at practice and stuff, and I'd be getting ramped up. I'd be getting amped up as a coach. Like if I was going to play game day, I swear the head coach had to like stop me a few times because I'm like, I'm getting ready to jump in the game, and I'm gonna, go sack the quarterback. And I think the biggest thing is, everyone says is you don't have to find a new identity. Being an athlete's forever going to be in part of you, but it's being able to take the lessons you learned and everything you endured as an athlete and translating it into passions later on. Whether it is you become a coach at some caliber, whether it is you're working for a Fortune 500 company, you're always going to be in a team atmosphere. And companies want to hire athletes for one reason: they know how to work within a team atmosphere. Take the skills you had as an athlete and bring it into something else. Find your new why. Your why as an athlete should translate into every aspect of your life. And I know for me, I always keep myself as a routine. I love working out. There's the big, TikTok memes about behind every athlete is now a new bodybuilder. And yes, I'm part of that wave now. Like I love lifting. I love being regimented. I literally am crazy. I track my calories. I track my macros. I have my lifts all scheduled for the week. I have everything down to a T as if I'm still an athlete. And it's like weird to think about it this way is that, within substance abuse addiction, the thing is you turn to a new addiction, a new like almost obsession, but not really obsession, but a new addiction. Like some become vegan, some try new diets and try new religions and everything like that. And you kind of do the same thing as an athlete and what sparks your light. And you have like everything you do as an athlete translates over to whatever aspect you want to do in life. It really does. It has a direct translation no matter what. You always find situations where you have some correlation from the times of you being an athlete. Even obviously I work with athletes, but even in mental health, it's like I think about myself through my struggles and everything like that. It's you can take every technique and use it to mold because being a student athlete, not everyone might have been a captain or anything, but they make you better leader within the society. They make you a role model, and it teaches you how to uplift yourself, upload organizations, create culture and environments, and uplift communities. I think within the transition period is really exploring your new why and taking your old why as an athlete and mixing it with your new journey as a NARP now.
I really like how you address like the whys and how important that is to understand like your why. If you could go back and give your advice to your younger self before you were to go to like Springfield College, what would that be? Like what would you say and what do you believe that impact would be?
Don't be so naive. No, I'm just kidding. I think what it is learn to be open. Learn to be open, endure the pain. I tell myself it's not going to be easy. And I knew it wasn't going to be easy back then, but I didn't know it's not going to go easy. It's not going to go your way, but stick with it. And I did. And I think that to my younger self, that's the biggest thing is that coming in, I fully wholeheartedly admitted that my only priority was football. And I think I gained something more special out of it. Besides football, I gained, relationships. I gained a purpose. And I think that me being open in college is what really did that. And I think to every college athlete, I'd like to say is like, be open and never saying no. Try new things, experiment new things, meet new people. You never know who you're going to meet. You never know whose life you're going to change. You never know who's going to change your life.
I know we've talked a lot about your journey and about the ups, the downs, all of that good stuff. But has there been, one, maybe even two really favorite top memories that you really think about a lot and kind of reflect on now after you're done with football? That could be at any level, whether it's high school, even pre-high school, or at the collegiate level.
I think some of my favorite memories, when we talk about we all get together, later you just kind of start to forget about games. And for me, it's like I don't even care about the games anymore. I don't care about how I did. Like, yeah, like every once in a while, it tickles you pink that you hear about the time you did really well, or winning championships is cool. Like I never thought I'd win a ring until I got to Springfield. Now I got two of them. But I'm gonna have to really say my first two favorite, my favorite memories are one is the locker rooms. Everything outside of football, the meetings, the locker rooms, the laughs, the camaraderie, all the small things that you miss. That's the stuff you miss. You talk about it like and you think about all the suck with it and all it's like all the body aches, all the pain, all the Advil. And I miss the locker room experience. I miss being with all the guys, listening to music and laughing around, clowning around. We're in our own little world and it's just us and there's nothing that else matters. It's where and I think, you know, if I had to really give it a full meaning is the first day I started playing football when I was 7 years old. Um, and honestly, like my my senior year too is because I started to mature as an athlete and I realized that I really have some truly special people in my life. I really do. My teammates, I love to the death of me. I'd do anything and everything for them. I still hang out with my old high school football team still. To this day, we all still get together. None of us have lost touch with each other. I've had some of my best friends, my running back and my fellow D-line mate, my quarterback, my other running backs, all of them, like from high school, and even in college, it's like I'm still in touch with pretty much all my old teammates from college. In college, I formed a bond that could never be broken too. I never thought I experienced that, and at some things, I have even experienced it more in college because we went through the hardships together. We went through the transitions together, and I think just my memories is just the relationships I formed. I met some great people that strengthened me in ways I never thought I could be strengthened. It's funny, like I got a roommate in Puerto Rico and I'm still on FaceTime with him every single day. And I think those are my favorite memories of all time because I'm sad that those memories of us being athletes are over, but I'm glad that they happened because now we just build more memories with each other. We give
I think that's awesome. And like piggybacking what you just said, like I also, every time I go home for a break, a winter break, summer break, I'm always hanging out with those boys that I grew up with playing baseball and played high school baseball with. So I can relate to you on that level as a whole. But moving on to like the next question, how do you think technology, like especially like fluid sports tech, could have impacted your athletic and mental well-being while being a student athlete at Springfield?
I think one of the biggest things, and I was so curious when you guys first introduced fluid tech to me, and like hearing the pitch and kind of going through the blueprint of it all. And it's truly a special idea because the reality is there is still a stigma within mental health and stuff, and it allows you to protect that confidentiality and allows you to not publicize being like, hey, listen, I'm struggling here. Some people don't want to see that. Some people see it as weakness internally. It's not a weakness. It's okay to show fear sometimes. And yeah, I'm a guilty pleasure of that. I have a hard time showing fear. I never show fear. And especially in my line of work, it's like I'm like the perfect poker player. Um, but I think that it gives you an outlet. It gives you everything you ever need in one: resources, techniques, all the information in one singular app. And that's the day and age now, is everything needs to be in one app. People introducing fitness. You have fitness apps now telling you how to work out, what muscles, what to work out, what muscles to work out. Diet, if you're calorie counting, you have MyFitnessPal, plugging in the macros, the micros, how many calories are in this, how many calories in that. But this is truly extraordinary because it's the same thing, but it's for even a bigger cause, a bigger message that's being sent out and a bigger issue that really has its full attention now, and more teams and are more advocates about it. But it's at the height of something where this technology is much needed. Teams are still finding ways to develop, and I was very fortunate where we had more than one resource to go to on campus for mental health stuff, and especially within athletes. When it came to performance anxiety and stuff, some schools only have one sports psychologist. And I think this really allows people in the industry to network with each other. It allows athletes to network with each other, and it allows it's endless. The possibilities are endless. It opens up to your mind in a place where it's like it's saying, hey, you're not alone. You're not alone. And we're here to help you. And it's okay. And it's gonna be okay.
To this day, I always tell myself it's okay to ask for help. Everybody asks for it, and it's not a bad thing at all. So, but finally, kind of wrapping up and in closing, Caeden, just really wanted to briefly ask, like, is there one piece of advice, wisdom, encouragement that you'd like to leave with the listeners, kind of especially those student athletes who are currently navigating, their college experience right now?
Never give up on yourself. Always be your biggest fan and really cherish the relationships and the people that you have around you, and endure the process, endure the pain. And for those people that are getting recruited, enjoy the moment because you only get recruited once. And for those people who are college athletes, enjoy it because you're never going to get it again. You never know when that final whistle is going to blow. And leave everything better than you found it. If if that is the one thing I have to say, my legacy isn't I'm an All-American or anything like that, but I can say my biggest strength and my biggest flex is I never gave up. I never gave up on myself. I never gave up on my teammates. Never gave up on the people that I cared most about. Even when I thought there was no other option and there was no light, and I kept on saying, why me, why me, why me? I now said, why not me? And I think the mentality for all you athletes out there. Any type of struggle you go through, it's never going to be easy. Whenever you think you have it easy, it's going to get harder. I promise you. It's not going to be all sunshine and roses, but I always say, why not me? Because you're in it for a reason and you're part of that 5% club now.
Awesome. Well, hey, I think you wrapped that up on a great note. Again, really thank you for your time today. Appreciate having you on the call and just learning a little bit more in depth about your journey as a student athlete, highs, the lows, the in betweens, but also the memories that you're cherishing to this day and really reliving those stories with. But ultimately, for everybody watching and listening, we're going to link all of Caeden's socials down below. So make sure to check him out, look him up. Feel free to reach out to him whenever. He's been a great resource, always a great person to have a conversation with, and hope you guys really enjoy this podcast and the following one next week.